Acho.
Alright, figure that shit out.
Hey, what is good? What is happening, everybody? It's your boy Primitive AK here, back with another video for you guys. Today we are here with Black Ops 6 settings that you need to be changing immediately. This is going to be a full settings guide, so just for you guys are aware that we're going to be running through all the settings and a little bit of the graphic settings as well, because there are actually a lot of settings that are in this game that a lot of people may not be aware of, and I think it's really important that we talk about these. So let's go ahead and get right into it. First of all, let's talk about the quick settings. These are kind of just my preferred quick settings that I just kind of have set up here, so you can kind of change these to whatever you need. But moving on, keyboard and mouse. Obviously, if you're on controller, your aiming input needs to be set to controller. The rest of this doesn't particularly matter, so you can go ahead and skip all of this. Moving on to controller settings, this is where all the important stuff happens. So first things first, I have a Scuff PS5 controller. You guys can tell it has 4 paddles in the back. So in this instance, your button layout can pretty much stay the same. If you don't have a Scuff controller and you can't use back paddles, I would change this to tacticals. Just figure out which one you have and then change it accordingly. This will make it so that way you don't have to take your hand off the aiming stick as well, which is very useful. Stick layout, leave as default. Moving on to horizontal and vertical, leave this on 6. I prefer to leave this on 6. That's kind of the sweet spot for sensitivity. The lower the better. However, you don't want to have it too low, otherwise you can't turn around. So I just like to prefer to have this at 6. All of these settings, leave them on off. Controller vibration should 100% be off. Trigger effect off as well. Dead zone, if you have no stick drift issues with your controller, definitely put this at 1, 99, 1, 99, 1, and 1. This is basically like if your controller is perfectly fine and you have no response delay whatsoever on the controller. You can even go as far as putting it as a 0, but I like to leave it at 1 just because compensating for any issues that may not be visible, so that's why I leave it at 1. But ideally, you can kind of just leave it at whatever there. Aiming settings. Sensitivity multiplier, you want to change both your ADS sensitivity and ADS sensitivity focus to 0.9. This is just going to bring the sensitivity a little bit lower, so that way you can get on target a little bit easier with these things. Leave your look conversion on standard. Aiming advanced settings. Transition aiming should be instant. Aim response curve, I like to leave this on default. I prefer not to change it, honestly. And look conversion should be set to standard as well. Moving on to movement, this is actually really important here because a lot of people are going to be confused and probably going to completely look over this setting. Sprint assist. Now, this is where your tactical sprint settings are. For those that want to sprint without pressing the L3 button, this is what this is for. Now, I believe default, this is actually set to like 400, and then both of these are on. You want to make sure this is set. First of all, you want to make sure that tac sprint assist is on. This is going to enable that tac sprint that everybody wants. Sprint assist delay, I don't even know why this is a setting, but for some reason you can delay the input of your sprint settings here. By default, this is set to 400 milliseconds, which is essentially 0.4 seconds. You want to turn that off. Just turn this off. I don't know why this is a setting. I don't know who in their right mind would want to delay their sprint assist. So just set this all the way down to 0. Sprint assist sideways set to on. And always sprint assist backwards I set to on as well. Mantle assist, I have all this off. I don't think you need it. Crouch assist, I set this to off as well. Airborne mantle, I set this to off. Tap to slide, you definitely want to have that set to your slide behavior. Auto door peek, you want to set this to off. Movement advanced settings, this is pretty important. Sprint, tactical sprint behavior set to toggle. Auto move forward off. Ground mantle on. And single tap sprint. Set this to free for underwater settings. Sprint door bash, you definitely want to have that on. And vehicle settings, I don't really change any of these because you're not really going to be driving vehicles much. ADS behavior set to hold. Weapon mount ADS. Quick C4 detonation group. Equipment behavior hold. Pretty much the rest of these are default, so you don't really want to change any of these here. Moving on to graphics settings, I'm not going to go through every single graphics setting because I have a 4090, so a lot of my graphics are set to high here. But depending on your PC, you may want to turn this down to low. Like I said, I just like having it on high because I have for 4090 and I like seeing cool graphics and also still maintaining high frame count. So just bear that in mind. Moving on to view settings, you want to make sure you have motion reduction set to off. Field of view should be at 105. You can set this to 110. I prefer to just have it 105. ADS field of view should be set to affected. Weapon field of view set to default. Vehicle field of view default. All motion blur should be turned off. Your first person camera movement, this is basically camera shake when you get hit with a grenade. Set this to the lowest value possible. I wish we could turn it off completely, but unfortunately you can't. So just set that to 50%. Inverted flashbang, this is going to make it so flashbangs are no longer white, it turns them to black. So this was a setting that we saw in previous CODs, so you definitely want to have this on. Moving on to your audio settings here. You're going to need to change your audio settings to whatever is your headset, obviously. My default is the wireless headset that I have on right now. I don't change any of these because I can control the volume from my headset, so I don't think you really need to change any of that. All of these settings should be on as well. You don't really need to change any of these. Your push to talk, if you like talking trash, I have this set to Z on my keyboard. That's just personal preference there, so whatever works best for you. Moving on to the global settings, these should all be set to default. Most of these settings should port over from previous CODs, like for example, network in-game alerts. I have all that on just because I like seeing the information. Skip kill cam, you can turn this on. However, I die to a lot of bogus in this game, so that's why I like to actually watch it. But do with that information as you will. Readability, I have this off. Subtitles, you can turn this on. Sometimes I turn this on, sometimes I turn it off. It just kind of depends on whether or not I want to see all that information, but if you don't particularly need it. Color customization, this one's pretty important. You want to set your color filter down to filter 2, and then your color filter target you want to set to both, and then world color intensity set to 100. I believe this is 75 by default. This is going to make your game a lot more vibrant and help you to see targets in areas that may not necessarily be too friendly, so you definitely want to make sure you turn that on. Minimap shape, set this to square. It allows you to see more on your minimap. Minimap rotation should be on, radar off. You don't really need the radar. It's useless. I don't use it at all. But moving on, the rest of these should be default, so don't particularly change any of those. And the rest of it, pretty much default as well. You don't need to change any of these. These are just like your account and information settings, so I'm not going to run through that. But anyways, guys, like I said, there's a lot of settings in here that are very important that I think a lot of people are going to miss, and then when they play the game, they're going to wonder, what the heck is my game doing? So definitely make sure you change the menu settings as much as you can and get in the game, enjoy it. Hopefully you guys do enjoy it. We got plenty of Black Ops 6 videos on the way. This is the first of many, so hopefully you guys do enjoy it. Thank you guys for all the love and support, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. It's your boy Primitive AK, signing out. Peace out, fellas.